This is my last ever bike race. For the past 7 years of my life, racing mountain bikes has been a huge part of who I am. I started in 6th grade just riding for fun, yet somehow by senior year, I made it to the top level. But after all of my podiums and races, it all comes down to one last weekend.
Guess who just got back today? Them wild-eyed boys that had been away haven't changed, had much to say.
But first, let me explain how each race weekend works. On Thursday, we each get our call-ups, and I ended up starting 16th. On Friday, I set everything up on my bike, like the batteries, and I get my hydration ready to go for the weekend. And then on Saturday is when the race weekend really starts to take shape, because that's when our pre-rides are on. All right, right now I'm on the way to the pre-ride, and this is Saturday, just for context. I got the S-Works in the back there, and then I got all of my soap materials here in the passenger seat, because I think it's gonna rain. Oh yeah, and by the way, I run Summit Bike Wash, so I'll be able to show you exactly what being a vendor at a bike race like this really is like. Got the cowboy hat, got my backpack full of all my biking gear, my water. So we should be good to pre-ride today, and I'm gonna start selling soap this afternoon. I'm not gonna lie though, it is looking pretty rainy, so I'm hoping that this race doesn't get canceled. All right, welcome to pre-ride day and mountain bike day number 1. Got some riders already hitting the course over there. Should be out there in just a minute. After chatting with everybody and getting my race plate on the bike, it was time to go pre-ride. Start looking tough. This pre-ride was perfect because for my race day, it was going to be rainy, and on this pre-ride, the trail was already wet from the rain earlier, so it was perfect to try to feel out how the trail is going to actually be on race day. You're getting raced to the end, Gabe. Along with the pre-ride also giving us ideas on trail conditions, it also can show us where we want to drink our water and where we want to get nutrition and where we want to pass. Right after the pre-ride, it was time to go set up the tent and sell some soap. This is terrible. Godsend from the Nika tent. Every single bike race this season, I've sold some soap, and this is my final day of selling. I sold for about 4 hours, and I got to hang out with Ride Lens and First Light Fuel, which is pretty awesome because they're also student athlete made companies. After a successful day of selling, I headed home and packed up for the race day ahead. Right when I got home, I checked all my batteries and all the critical things on my bike so that I knew nothing would go wrong on race day.
Came up out that water, sunshine, and it was darker. I remember vividly, summertime through the waves, thinking about how can I make it every day. It's heavy rain. We gon' make it to the moonlight, we gon' make it to a new life.
And right after that, I headed over to the store. Alright, so you might be wondering what my tradition is, and it's low-key pretty stupid, but my tradition is just to get a white Monster every single time before my race. And it's kind of bittersweet because this is my last ever mountain bike race, at least in high school that is. But all the sad stories aside, I'm really excited for tomorrow, and I'm really hoping for a good race. With my Monster and supplies for my promposal, I was ready for race day. Alright. I just woke up. I had to wake up at 6 a.m. for this race. Race bike is ready from last night. I got the backpack full of everything. I gotta grab a couple other things. I had to get my water bottles. I have to get my nutrition. But besides that, we just gotta make the hour drive over to Warda, and we'll be ready to start warming up. Sunday is the day when everything matters. Right when I get to the race, I swap into my racing kit and get ready for my warm-up. Usually I do about 3 to 4 miles, but this one was a little weird because I had to prompose right in the middle of it. Aww. Right after this though, it was time to race. The start of the race was actually insane, and it's always so important to get into the single track first. And throughout the entire start of this race, I started in 16th place. So I wasn't 100% sure if I was going to be able to get to the front and get over to the single track first. So with the entire first minute of this race, I was basically just trying to pass as many people as I could. But you can see the metric in the very bottom of the screen, the bottom center. That's my power. Throughout this entire race, I averaged about 275 watts, but I mean, even just here, I'm peaking at over 900 watts just in sprinting to try to get to the single track first while getting passed. And if you've ever ridden a bike with a power meter, you would totally understand that this kills you. Like, my average heart rate for this entire race was up in the high 170s, which is pretty unseen for me. Also, coming into this race weekend, there was so much rain just the night before, and it was actually looking like the entire race was going to be canceled, but somehow we lucked out and they let us ride. But you'll see in just a minute, it was insane in the single track. This race in particular has a lot of different kinds of terrain, so it has a lot of pine needles, it has a lot of mud, it has a lot of rock. And right here, people are crashing. This guy on my right just crashed super hard in this mud. Everyone is struggling with this, and throughout the entire race, it didn't get any better. It just kept getting worse. You also see later in the race, I end up taking a little spill right about here on lap 3, so make sure you stay watching for that. Right in this position, I'm feeling great. Honestly, I'm still up in the front pack, which is great for drafting. Right after we come out of the start line, whenever we started the race, we're coming into a headwind. So that's the way the wind is moving in this race. For the first mile or so, we're in the trees, but after the first mile, we'll come out into the wind, but we'll be in a tailwind. So you'll see that in a minute or two, us in the tailwind. And the most important thing for this track is there's a lot of open sections, either in the head or tailwind, and drafting is super, super important. Coming through here though, this entire section was completely filled with mud, and I was struggling so much to find grip. I'm on XC tires, I'm on the Specialized Air Track tires, and so it's just impossible to find grip because cross-country tires are known really just for speed on hard pack. So you can see Noah ahead of me, he's sliding all over the place. It is impossible to control. Noah's been one of my closest rivals this entire season, and we've been battling since the season before too, and we were both getting podiums almost every single race. And I can just say this competition has been so much fun, and right here whenever I saw him ahead of me, I knew I had to go catch this guy because I definitely wanted to try and beat him for my last race. And you can just see I'm sliding all over the place, like this is impossible. Coming up through here, we're getting into the more open section. This is the section with the jumps. We had a different teammate. He broke his collarbone on this just the day before, and so they took a couple jumps out of this, and you'll see later in the race someone crashes on this jump right here. But for the time being, everything went pretty good. And right up here, now we're coming into the section with the tailwind. I'm trying my hardest to catch up to Noah. You can see my power there in the bottom. I'm almost at 700 watts trying to catch up to this guy to get the draft. You can see my speed too, almost pushing 21 miles an hour here. That is fast on a cross-country bike, especially in a race like this on dirt. And I'm just trying my absolute hardest to get up to this guy ahead of me so that I can get the draft going. Coming through this little building, there's a lot of cheering, and it's really nice to get the breeze through here. And I'm pretty sure right here, Cannon ends up flying past me and Noah, even though I'm doing about 400 watts right here. I can't imagine how much power he's pushing, but he is moving. You also see at the very end of the race, me and him have a chit chat, and we end up talking through our strategy together right at the end. Through here, it's right next to my team, so a lot of my teammates are cheering around here, which is great to hear, and it always really fuels me to race. And coming up right through here, this is the section right before the single track. I take a slightly different line there to Noah just because I think it has more grip in the grass. But right here, I try my hardest to get past him. I'm pushing 930 watts to pass this guy, 1.7 miles into this race. My heart rate is through the roof here. And I see Cannon up ahead, the guy that just sprinted past me whenever I was doing 400 watts. This is where the single track gets good, and that's my strength, is the single track with the rocks. The open is not my strength. So right here, I know I have to pass this guy Cannon, otherwise I could potentially be slowed down in my my best section, which is, of course, the single track, like I mentioned. Through here, I'm pushing pretty hard. I mean, I'm getting to peaks of 500-600 watts through here, just trying to get my gap to Cannon out of the way. One of the things that I take the most serious in this race, and the best strategy that I have learned, is out of mind, out of sight. This guy just came out of absolutely nowhere, by the way. I have no idea who that was. But one of my biggest strategies is out of sight, out of mind. If the rider behind me I just passed can't see me, or if say someone passed me, I can't see them, there is not as big of a motivating factor for me to keep pushing or for them to keep pushing, meaning the gap will build. That's something I worked on a lot in this race, so every time you see me pass a different rider, my power will jump up so high because I'm just trying to get through there. Also, the weather for this race is perfect, besides the rain, of course, but you can see in the temperature on the right side of the screen, this entire race was pretty beautiful, and I was sweaty by the end of it, but it was great. Also, yeah, mud here, absolutely insane. It was terrible. Also, through here you can see my speed is pretty low, and that's just because there's so much mud and so much hard terrain to try to get through in here. And up here, this is one of the hardest climbs slash sprints in the race, and you can see the guy ahead of me just absolutely mashing the pedals. I like to be conservative through this part of the track just because I know this isn't my strength, so every time I get to a really big open section, I try to get down a little more aerodynamic. The GoPro will show less of the track because I'm kind of hunkering down on the bike. Just like through here, this is where the headwind is at, and I'm pushing hard, but that's just so I can make sure that I get out of sight, out of mind for Cannon. Almost crashed into the tree right there. This section had so much standing water, and right through here we're coming into the pit lane. So this is one of the biggest moments of the race just throughout all of my laps, and that's the feed station, which is up here to the right. So the first lap, I don't actually do the feed station. It's just where you can get a snack, or you can throw your water and grab a fresh one. You can see my dad's holding out a bottle. Don't grab it, have enough water. I also have an energy cube on my bike, so I'm ready to go for later in the race if I need a little bit of energy. I cut the clip out, but actually in the race I ended up trying to eat that. These guys come flying past me too. They're teaming up together to get that draft going in this headwind, which is how they pass me so easily because I'm just alone out here. But yeah, that energy cube, it got covered in mud from this entire race, and so I just I ate it, spit it out, and yeah, it did not work. Right here I'm pushing pretty hard, you know, getting up to 550 watts, trying to stay with these guys, because I know this is Noah, by the way, the kid I passed earlier, and here's one of his teammates. So all the teammates are strategically together, which is really smart for drafting, and they can trade off draft. Really what I'm trying to do here is stick with them so I can be with them in the single track, and then hopefully draft off them in the next straightaway. Again, this section is still so bad. There's so much mud still going on right here, and I'm taking an alternate line here on the side, just trying to get out of that mud, because it gums up your gears, it gums up your wheels, brakes, everything gets just destroyed with the mud, and so you really want to try to avoid it. A lot of riders, when they go through the feed zone in the pits, they will grab an extra water bottle and they will spray it on their drivetrain. They will just squirt all the water on their drivetrain, which I've done before. I don't do in this race because my bike seemed fine, but I end up doing that on a lot of the mud races just to try to degunk the entire rear end of the bike so I can be more efficient on the pedals. Right here, I end up kind of losing these guys for what I really wanted to catch them for, which is this straightaway. You can see them eventually up there. They're pretty far ahead. They really started putting some power down, and I just couldn't catch up to them, so I'm alone for this part. I end up getting kind of through the long straightaway section into the downhill, back again where my team is, and I'm going to head into the single track once again, which is honestly my best part of the race. I'm just the most efficient, fastest there, and I can get the most done there, honestly. Through here, my heart rate is dropping down just a little bit. Again, that's probably because I can't see anybody ahead of me. You know, I don't have a huge motivating factor to just push me beyond what I'm capable of, which is what I was doing for most of this race, honestly. Power is still there. You know, it's really hard at this point. You know, we're over 6 miles into this race on lap 2, and putting down consistent power is really tricky throughout this stage of the race because, first of all, yeah, no one's there, and it's really hard to keep putting power down. This guy comes flying past me too. He's brand new to varsity this year. I think he was racing in the category below, jumped up to varsity, and absolutely crushed it. I end up trying to stick with him a little bit, but honestly, in the single track, like, trying to stick with someone in the single track is so difficult. First of all, because drafting in single track is not really that beneficial, but the other main part of it is that sometimes the person in front of you will take a different racing line than you would, and it can throw you off if you try to follow exactly what they do. So through here, again, this is the section I'm not very good at, the long climb out, and this guy's insane. He's from the Lake Travis team. He always yells and everything. He's so awesome. He brings so much fun to the race. You'll see later what I end up giving to him. Yeah, again, headwind part. This is probably the hardest part of the entire race for me, just the headwind along with that climb back there. So I want to make sure I can get up to the feed zone because this lap I definitely do need to take a fresh water bottle. Take one last swig, chuck it down, and then grab this new one. It's pretty awesome. Honestly, I feel just like I'm in an F1 race, just going in for a pit, swapping my tires. It's honestly the coolest feeling, and me and my dad have this perfect record of never dropping a water bottle during one of these races, which is awesome, because if you do drop it, you need to have water on the race, otherwise I think you can get a penalty. So they make sure you have water. And then right here, this is probably the biggest moment of the entire race. Honestly, I don't know how I did that. I took a different line the first 2 laps, tried a new line this lap, and I crashed. Along with that, yeah, my knee was pretty screwed up. My left knee really hurt after that crash. It ended up kind of going away. But man, I lost probably 20 seconds there with, you know, me getting up on the bike, falling, and going pretty slow. You could see my RPM back there. I was down to like 30 RPM on the crank, so I was pedaling really slow, wrong gear. I was so devastated I did that. That honestly cost me a position because I came in 11 seconds behind this kid named Cannon, and if I hadn't crashed there, I think I would have been able to beat him. But yeah, nonetheless, you know, coming in for the 3rd lap, coming through this tailwind section once again. The tailwind stayed consistent for the entire race, which is honestly pretty great. I really like that, you know, I was pushing average power here, and this is, right, again, entering the single track. So by this point, I knew that Cannon would be behind me because I just crashed, and I could see him way out in the field after the pits. I could see him kind of coming up on me, so I needed to make sure that I could really extend my gap here because I knew that kid is a dog when it comes to biking. Like, he holds nothing back. So I knew for this entire 3rd lap that I really needed to put in some power and work and get my heart rate up there, even though it would really suck, but I knew I had to do something. Mud stayed consistently terrible through this race, and yeah, right up here I end up seeing a different varsity rider, so I make sure I really want to get past him. I don't know if he had a technical problem or if something happened or if maybe he just got a little tired or burnt out. So yeah, I try to pass him here, can't pass there, but we end up communicating and I get by him. So that's pretty awesome. Varsity, there's great sportsmanship throughout the entire category. It's honestly awesome because in the lower categories, you know, back in middle school, you try to pass someone, they just run you right off the road. Like, it was absolutely terrible. In varsity, yeah. And then yeah, we're coming by this guy again. Quick little high five. He's honestly the coolest. He's on my girlfriend's team. He's just the coolest guy ever. I forget his name right now, but he's just the best guy ever. He brings so much motivation and fun to this race, and I knew it's my last ever bike race. Like, I'm just doing this for fun. Here's 2 angles of me dropping my bottle at the feed zone. You can replay that too. That's exactly how it works every single time. Take a swig, throw the bottle down, grab a fresh one, and then I'm back ready to go. So that now I'm coming in. This is my 4th lap of the bike race. So I knew that This is where I really needed to get that power down, and Cannon was on my tail. Right after that feed zone, I was looking across the field coming through, and I could see him back there. Also, getting redemption on this again. I'm like, yes, like, thank goodness I just made it through this, because I do not want to crash again on that. Coming through here, I have a lot of mud in my drivetrain after that section, which is pretty terrible. So I'm really trying to get through that. It starts making bad noises later. Coming up here, someone crashed, unfortunately, on this jump right here. You'll see him off to the left. And I forget exactly what happened. He's doing a lot better now, but it was pretty bad. It was a pretty bad crash when it happened, and it was really unfortunate because those jumps claimed a lot of people's health for that weekend and got them out of the race. Coming through here, it's the single track once again. Last time I'm doing this single track, and Cannon is, that guy back there told me 8 seconds behind me, which sounds like nothing, but in this, 8 seconds, it's a fine gap. It's not good. He's definitely, approaching me. But, and then these guys right up here, I'm like, rider back, trying to get out of the way for me, because these are not my category, so I have to clear them. This guy gets in my way just a little bit. I get a little aggravated, get by him, and the reason I'm so just going crazy right here is Cannon is so close to me. You'll see him, I start talking to him here in just a minute.
Hey, you Cannon? Yeah. I'll be able to catch him. Should try and go catch him now. Tell me when you want to pass.
So Cannon comes by my right here. He comes flying through. He's skidding around in the mud up here. If you could hear my strategy, I told Cannon, see if you can go catch them. We were almost at the end of this race. It was less than a mile to the end of this race. And I was like, Cannon, go catch them. And my entire idea through this is to get this guy burned out, see if you can go catch him, and then I'll come back and get him. This is one of the final straights of the race, and Cannon is gone. That guy is a beast. He beat me by 11 seconds. It's so unfortunate, but honestly, I love the rivalry, and it was so much fun. And yeah, here's the end. Coming through the pits, everyone's cheering my name. I'm having so much fun, and it's really dawning on me this is my last ever bike race. And just like that, it's over. After 7 years of racing, I'm finally finished. This race was filled with exciting moments, crashes, passes, and everything in between. But I can say I don't think it could have ended any better. After the race was over, my bike and me were pretty messed up, but at least I had some Summit to clean it up. I ended up finishing that day hanging out with the team for one last time and going to podiums, which unfortunately I wasn't a part of, but it was still pretty fun. And after coming home and putting up my bike, within a couple of days we got all of our race photos and results. I finished 14th out of 23 people in varsity. My first lap time was about 17 minutes, with my next 3 being all 18 minutes. This gave me a total time of 1 hour and 12 minutes and 5 seconds. I was 11 seconds off the guy in front of me, 2 minutes off of 10th place, and 5 minutes off of first place. Overall, I think this is one of my best races based purely off of pace, because my power was super high with my heart rate being super low. But seriously, this has been such a fun final race, and I'm so glad I got to film it and show it to all you guys. And make sure you subscribe so you can see my entire racing journey throughout college too.